It seems to have been a sentiment that Harry might have, but as you say, both sides in London and California have said this is, a long way off. There aren't any kind of formal moves or formal talks, but it kind of goes against, some of the ideas that Harry has come out with in recent years. But if he was to pursue this, because obviously the King is unwell, if he was to say, I'm here to help, what kind of obstacles, in reality, if he was to actually say, I want to do this now, what kind of obstacles do you think are in his way? We've obviously got, you mentioned the King.
Well, there's also first of all, there's the general principle of, do their commercial activities in the United States, does that anyway impinge on royal activities? Because obviously, if you're here as a full-time working royal in this country, you're not undertaking commercial activities, so nothing is going to taint the monarchy. And that was always the late Queen's fear, that what they did commercially, which could be perfectly valid, would taint the brand and the mystique, as it were, of the monarchy. So that's one brand. The other is personal. I mean, Harry and Meghan have said so many things about William, about Camilla, about his own father, that you would have thought that there's huge barriers to him coming over and doing anything. In the long run, can I completely rule it out? No, I don't think I can. There could be a world, but it's so far off. I don't think you can consider it for the moment.
Would the King accept it, maybe, though? He's always said that his door is always open, that if Harry comes over, he would, he's always welcome to come round for dinner. I mean, he could be unwell for a long amount of time. I mean, could the King, in a moment of friendliness towards his son, because I think you're right. I think Prince William and the Queen would be against this, but could the King maybe, out of love of his son, might want to forgive him, or is that you think that's not right?
I think, out of love for his son, he certainly could forgive him. I mean, I think there's no theoretical obstacle to a personal reconciliation. There's no theoretical obstacle to personal reconciliation with William, even. That'll take a long time, of course, we all know that. And if he comes over, he comes on a regular basis to see his family, that could certainly happen. If while he's over here, might he appear on a royal engagement? I guess that could happen, but undertaking engagements and things like that, I don't think that is going to happen, at least not for a very long time.
Taking away, obviously there's a difference between the family institution, which you delve into in your book, Courtiers, but what about the institution itself? So we have a very much sort of a new team. I mean, could the institution stop Harry coming back, or do you think that they could find a way to welcome him?
Well, they're not going to stop him coming back to have personal relations with his family. The big issues like this, you talk about the institution, but the big issues like this, although the courtiers, although the advisors are incredibly important and they do have an influence on events, the big decisions are taken by the royals themselves, the principals, as they call them. And that was very evident, for instance, in the original Brexit negotiations, the Sandringham Summit, which we all remember. The advisors drew up a list of alternatives, but it was the Queen and the other members of the family, but particularly the Queen, who took the final decision. And I think that's what will happen this time. It'll be the members of the family who take any of these big decisions.
What about members of the public as well? I mean, we've got the family, we've got the institution, but are we so far down the line now that the general public would not welcome Harry coming back to carry out a hybrid role or to step in for his father? What do you think the public feel about it?
I think we're never too far down the line. I think the public is perfectly capable of changing its opinion about people. I think if Harry showed remorse, if he showed himself dedicated to the royal family, if there was obvious signs of reconciliation, I think all that could go towards, putting Harry on a different footing in terms of how the public view him.
Yeah, things change over time.
Things change.
But talking of change, you obviously spent a long time working with the royal family, but you have met Harry and worked with Harry. He's generally changed, but what was Harry like when you were on foreign tours with him, like maybe before Meghan? What was he like to report on?
He was fantastic to report on. One of the things about Harry is he has no filter. So you always saw authentic Harry which was fantastic. And he was also unpredictable. I mean, one of my favourite days of royal reporting was in Jamaica in the tour in 2012, I believe, when Harry was at a racetrack with Usain Bolt and sort of basically cheated and beat him in the 50-yard dash. It was a fantastic, I think, unscripted moment. Certainly it took Usain Bolt by surprise. So that was great. But Harry was also always incredibly authentic. And he'd take you to places that you wouldn't necessarily, where you wouldn't normally go on a royal tour. I remember in Brazil, we went to this basically drug den, this area called Cracolândia, which is inhabited by drug addicts and dealers and so on. And Harry wanted to go there to shine a light on what these charities were doing to help these people. And there was a lot of debate behind the scenes when they were drawing up the itinerary for this visit, whether they should go there, but Harry wanted to go there. So he took you places you wouldn't normally go. He was amazing in some ways. And the other thing I remember about Harry was I was in Colorado Springs when he first saw this American thing called the Warrior Games for injured, sort of Olympic-style games for injured servicemen. And he nicked that idea. And it became the Invictus Games and it went international and was Harry's single greatest achievement. But in that weekend, he might have had the idea buzzing around in his head, in the back of his head, but he saw these games, he was incredibly impressed and said to his team by the end of the weekend, I'm going to do this. And then he made a speech. So in public, he said, I'm going to do this, we're going to take it to London, we're going to do it next year. And his team were kind of reeling because they thought, what are we going to do within the next 12 months? What are you talking about? But driven by Harry's energy and vision and enthusiasm, they achieved the impossible.
So seeing as Harry's raised this idea that he might come back, we discussed about the 2020 Sandringham Agreement where a hybrid rule, as you say, with the Queen completely ruled out. 4 years on, Harry's brought this subject up, so we can talk about it, but 4 years on, do you think that is it possible the palace missed a trick and that there could have been a hybrid role, or that they could find something for him? Because as you say, he was an asset for the royal family at the time, and he could have brought maybe, new perspectives to post-Brexit Britain or to the Commonwealth, or to during COVID times he could have helped out. Is it a missed opportunity?
I think your phrase about new perspectives is very interesting, because I think both Harry and Meghan, before they left, before it all went wrong, I felt about both of them, and I even wrote this, that they bring a fresh perspective and a fresh approach to the royal family. The hybrid thing, I don't think the royal family necessarily missed a trick, but it's possible they could have explored other ways of being a hybrid. In other words, if they put sort of constraints on what Harry and Meghan did in their private time, saying, well, if you did this sort of business, we don't think that would impinge too badly on the royal family, so we can see a world in which you spend 9 months of the year doing that sort of thing and 3 months doing royal thing. So did they explore that? I don't know. But I think where they missed a trick, the royal family, and particularly the advisors, I think they're all pretty guilty on this, is they didn't see it coming. They didn't see Harry and Meghan's unhappiness. I mean, Harry's unhappiness had been building up for some time, crucially, even before Meghan showed up. They didn't see the unhappiness. It was there, if you're in on the inside, it was there plain to see about 12 months before Brexit. The famous occasion when Harry and Meghan went to the Albert Hall and she was feeling suicidal. So the signs were there to see, and it wouldn't have changed the outcome. I think Harry and Meghan might still have left, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think being born into the royal family doesn't have to be a life sentence. But if it had been spotted earlier, it could have been done so much more amicably. It's the difference between a bitter, painful divorce where the lawyers get involved and it's horrible, and an amicable divorce where you remain friends afterwards. And it could have been done so much better. All the pain and the recrimination and these ghastly salvos from across the Atlantic, all that might have been avoided if they'd spotted the signs earlier and spoken to them.